All right, guys, so once again, we got to talk about the mainstream liberal media meltdown over the Paul Pelosi situation, in which the mainstream liberal media has now come out and blamed Republicans. They're saying that this is the GOP's fault. It is the Republicans' fault, even though, in my opinion, right, I don't think they have much evidence to suggest that this guy was some type of Trump supporter, that he supported the GOP, that he was associated with the GOP in any way whatsoever. There's actually much more evidence to suggest that the guy was a leftist, that he supported leftist causes, and that there was some overlap in regards to his distrust of the government that both sides of the political aisle have, right? But again, the mainstream liberal media wants you to believe that that means that he's a Trump supporter, okay? He's a Trump supporter, which means that now everything that Republicans say is going to be extrapolated to some type of threat, okay? Even if it's just normal political rhetoric that you see on both sides of the aisle, Republicans now have to be held to a higher standard, even though, in my opinion, my humble opinion, I think that the Democrats and their rhetoric is much worse, and the political violence that has been a result of the Democrats' rhetoric or their tolerance for the extremists in their party, again, is far worse than what we've seen from the GOP. But again, my point of this video is that there's a truth that we just have to acknowledge. It's a sad truth about the mainstream liberal media and how they feel about Republicans that we just have to acknowledge at this point, because they've made it clear that the lives of conservatives, Trump supporters, and Republicans do not matter. They don't matter. So without further ado, I actually want to play this video of a CBS news anchor. Her name is Miss Margaret Brennan, who's going to absolutely melt down. I mean, she's going to actually lose her mind over a GOP rep tweeting out a hashtag fire Pelosi video ahead of the midterms. And she is extrapolating this video to be some type of direct threat towards Nancy Pelosi. And I want you guys to tell me what you think about this. Tell me, do you think that this is some type of direct threat towards Nancy Pelosi or not? Take a look.
Something I would love to talk about something other than people being worried for their lives. But unfortunately, that's where we are. I want to ask you about this when it comes to political violence. On your Twitter feed, you posted this video we're going to show just a few days ago where you're firing a gun and it says, "Enjoyed exercising my Second Amendment rights. Hashtag fire Pelosi." Why is there a gun in a political ad at all?
It wasn't an ad.
Hashtag
I was tweeting out something that I had just done.
Hashtag fire Pelosi with a weapon.
Well, now
wouldn't a pink slip be more fitting if it's about firing her?
It's interesting, Margaret.
Why a gun?
It's interesting, Margaret, that we're talking about this morning when a couple of years back, when a Bernie Sanders supporter shot Steve Scalise,
which was horrendous,
when a Bernie
and
Sanders
horrific,
supporter
which is
shot
why we
Steve
should
Scalise,
be not
I never heard you
weapons.
or anyone else in the media trying to blame Democrats for what happened. We need to stay focused on what we're all doing.
We did extensive coverage of what happened to Steve Scalise. There's extensive
Nobody
news coverage,
tried to equate Democrats' rhetoric. People that
I'm not talking about your rhetoric. I'm talking about what you posted. You're shooting a gun. Our viewers just saw it.
Yeah, right.
Hashtag fire Pelosi.
Exercising our Second Amendment rights, having
That's
fun.
not a debate about the Second Amendment.
Yeah.
That's not a debate about the Second Amendment. Hashtag fire Pelosi.
Yes, it is. I'm
Do you
running
not
the campaign
understand that that is suggestive to people who are in a bad state and in this current environment, how risky it is? As you're talking about the importance of lowering the rhetoric.
I disagree with you,
Why do you leave that up?
Again, I never saw anyone after Steve Scalise was shot by a Bernie Sanders supporter trying to equate Democrat rhetoric with those actions. Please don't do that.
Okay. Looking at your candidates.
So it goes without saying that any form of direct threat of violence towards a politician, whether it be Nancy Pelosi or anybody else, okay, should be condemned. It should be condemned. But I don't think that this right here, this tweet, was a direct threat of violence towards Nancy Pelosi. I don't think that it was. So that was Congressman Tom Emmer, who posted a video on Twitter in which he is at a shooting range, okay, and he is talking about how he is, exercising his Second Amendment rights. He is practicing with his weapon. And then it says 13 days to make history. Let's hashtag fire Pelosi. Now, again, how does a normal person interpret this? Okay, how does somebody who is not a political propagandist interpret something like this? Well, the way that you interpret it is very simple. The guy posted a video of him exercising Second Amendment rights. We know that the Democrats are anti-Second Amendment. Okay, they're anti-Second Amendment. So they want to take away your Second Amendment right. This guy is basically saying, look, I support the Second Amendment. Okay, I'm practicing with other, Republicans, fellow people who also want to protect the Second Amendment. And we have 13 days until we fire Pelosi, aka we go to the polls and we vote the Democrats out of power in the House so that Nancy Pelosi loses her speakership position in the House. She loses power in the House. That is what he means. That is what he means. It's very clear what he means. He's not calling for a direct threat of violence against Nancy Pelosi, right? Otherwise, again, I don't know why he would put 13 days to make history. Let's hashtag fire Pelosi. We all know what he means by fire Pelosi. He means get her out of office, okay? Get her out of the speakership position. Get her out of power. That's all it means. And the Second Amendment part is about self-defense, right? The Second Amendment is not about the right to go out and to murder somebody. That's not what the Second Amendment is. The Second Amendment is about self-defense, which is something that Nancy Pelosi and Democrats don't seem to be all that supportive of nowadays. That's all it means. But because of this Paul Pelosi situation, this anchor decides that she wants to have an aneurysm on air because she wants to extrapolate this to the extremes and say, oh, well, you're creating some sort of threat of violence towards Nancy Pelosi. And that, somebody that has some type of mental illness can interpret this the wrong way. Well, I mean, you can say that for anything. You can say that for any kind of political rhetoric. You can say that for any kind of political rhetoric. This wasn't even an ad. Again, what about all the things that the Democrats have said?
When they go low, we kick them.
And if you see anybody in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be. You cannot be civil with a political party that wants to destroy what you stand for, what you care about.
Get up and please get up in the face of some Congress people.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
There needs to be unrest in the streets for as long as there's unrest in our lives.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite and peaceful.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
When they go low, we kick them.
How do you resist the temptation to run up and wring her neck?
The biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized to the right.
I thought he should have punched him in the face. I said, even if you lost, he insulted your wife. What do you think I should have done? I said, I think you should have punched him in the face and then gotten out of the race. You would have been a hero.
I'd like to punch him in the face. I said if we were in high school, I'd take him behind the gym and beat the hell out of him.
Yeah, so that's the tame stuff. That is the tame stuff that the Democrats have said. They've said far worse things than that, okay? Again, how is somebody that is mentally ill supposed to interpret that? Again, that's a question that's never asked by the mainstream liberal media. They never get upset when Democrats say stuff like this, like punching Trump in the face. No, we don't need to worry about the political rhetoric. We don't need to tone that down because we agree with it. We agree with it. Again, guys, how many incidents have we had over the past few years where a Republican's life has been in danger or they've lost their life? For example, Trump supporters getting shot and killed by Antifa, right? Or getting killed because some lunatic thought that it was a radicalized Republican, which is something that MSNBC, in my opinion, they've been openly just kind of promoting political violence towards Trump supporters. Marco Rubio's canvasser got beat up for being a Republican down in Miami, Florida. And like this GOP congressman mentioned, a few years ago, you had Representative Steve Scalise got shot by a radicalized progressive, a Bernie Sanders supporter. Again, how many times have we seen Republicans be victims of political violence and the mainstream liberal media does nothing? They don't say anything at all. Somebody attempted to try to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh and they acted like it was a sideshow. It was a sideshow compared to the Roe v. Wade riots. They were also violent, right? They were left-wing violent protests. But yet y'all want to get on TV and try to lecture me, try to lecture us, try to lecture Republicans about political violence and rhetoric. When Democrats and their rhetoric has been extreme, so extreme, right, over the past few years, and most of the political violence in this country has come from left-wing groups. It's not even a debate. It's not a conversation. But again, they don't care when Republican lives are in danger. Lee Zeldin, guy gets on stage and almost tries to stab him to death. You don't hear anything from Joe Biden. You don't hear anything from all these people in the mainstream liberal media saying, hey, you know, is the rhetoric from the Democrats too much? Right? Can we blame this on the Democrats some way? No, they never do that. They never say anything at all. And I'm going to tell you what the conclusion I've come to, guys. It's a sad conclusion, but I actually do think that this is what it is. These people don't care about the lives of Republicans, of conservatives, of Trump supporters. They actually don't care. If something happens, they're not going to shed a tear. They're not going to feel sad. They probably won't cover it, and behind closed doors, they'll be celebrating it. That's what I believe. That is what I believe at this point. That's the only conclusion I can come to. Because they do this every single time. Every single time something happens to a Democrat, they don't even know what the motivation is. They don't care what the motivation is. They automatically jump to this, oh, is Republican rhetoric too extreme? Is Republican rhetoric too extreme? Yeah, you had a BLM supporter try to assassinate a Democrat mayor because it was clear this guy was a left-wing extremist. He was radicalized by Joy Reid, right, and others on MSNBC. Joy Reid interviewed the guy, okay? She was friends with him. They ignored it. They didn't have anything to say. Nobody was asking questions. Again, even when the Democrat politicians are in danger, if the radical extremist is a leftist, they have nothing to say. They don't want to say anything. But if it's ambiguous, right, or if the guy is clearly a right-winger, which is rare, but most of the time it's ambiguous. If it's ambiguous, oh, automatically, oh, it's GOP's fault, right? It's GOP's fault. We got to have a conversation about it. Again, it's almost as if they actually really don't care. Like, they don't care about the lives of politicians that they politically disagree with. They don't care. They really don't. And it's sad that we've gotten to this point that we simply can't just call out political violence on both sides of the aisle. I don't think that what that guy tweeted there was a direct threat of violence towards Nancy Pelosi. I don't think so. But again, I would condemn any direct threat of violence towards Nancy Pelosi because I don't want to see anything happen to her from a political violence standpoint. I'm not for that. Again, these liberal media propagandists on TV, they won't come out and actually stand up for the lives of Republicans as much as they will Democrats when the attacker is somebody that they believe is a Trump supporter or somebody on the right. Even though they don't really have evidence to back that up, if they believe that, then this is what you get, right? Full-blown meltdown. Republicans, though, when they're in danger from radicalized Democrats, who cares, right? Whatever. They deserve it. That's exactly what they think. That's what they think. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.